Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to day 21, and today we're going to be going over press to handstand drills. Okay, so really exciting video today, guys. For myself, when I started training press to handstand, I was already quite strong. I'd already done quite a bit of planche work, so I did manage to get it relatively quick, but I didn't really know how to do it and what I was really doing. It wasn't very clean, that's what I'm trying to say. So hopefully this video will give you a little bit more of an insight on how to actually perform the press to handstand with nice efficient mechanics, and give you somewhat of a step-by-step process on either checkpoints or prerequisites you want to build up towards to be able to work towards doing it, or if you've got them prerequisites, then starting to actually work in to some specific drills for the press themselves. Okay, so just before we get into the training, the prerequisites that I just mentioned, these are just my opinion. I've not really seen anyone do a press to handstand without them. So I do think they're pretty relevant. The first one is going to be your pancake, okay, which we'll go over in a minute. There's a follow-along pancake tutorial later, like previously in this follow-along series, so you can always go back and refer to that. There's also tuck planche, that's the second prerequisite. Okay, in the calisthenics fundamentals, I think the isometric day, again earlier in the series, tuck planche is there, we sort of build up to that, so there's some potential progressions for you with that one. L-sit on the floor. Okay, I think that's a really important position to have, and a good foundation to build from. Okay, so we need quite a lot of compression strength for the press. And then I also suggest handstand as well. Now, some people say that you don't necessarily need handstand. Some people can learn to handstand by pressing into it, but I think with a lot of the drills, it's quite useful to have your handstand and just to be confident actually when you go upside down. As soon as your legs come into straddle handstand, you know, the balance starts to get exactly how it would be in a handstand. So if you're not proficient in it, you'll probably end up doing a lot of reps and falling out of balance, and it just might end up overloading you or being a little bit arduous. But like I say, that's just my opinion. That's not necessarily to say that's always the case, but I would say handstand as well. So pancake, tuck planche, L-sit and handstand. The reason why I say tuck planche is just so we have enough lean, okay, to be able to press. Often, especially if you've not got amazing hip mobility, you're gonna have to lean a little bit. Fingers just in front of shoulders just in front of the fingers when we do it. So having that tuck planche strength, that ability to shift the weight forwards and hold that position, okay, is I think pretty crucial. So without further ado, let's get into the prep work. We'll start with roll back reach and we'll move that into some pancake opening. Okay, so roll back reach, we've done this one a few times before. We'll start off just doing it in butterfly. So rolling forwards and then rolling back, touching the feet to the floor. I haven't got too much space. Let's move around a little bit. Hands by the side or overhead, it doesn't really matter. Both is good. Okay, then we'll go into straight legs. So notice here that I'm working into that compressed position that I'm going to be in my press, getting the hamstrings and the posterior chain nice and loosened up. Finally, we're going to straddle. What I like about the roll back reach as well, guys, is relatively active. As we come into straddle, we have to abduct the legs, flex the hips slightly to control the way down. So it does become quite an active range of motion exercise. Okay, and then we'll just work into that pancake a little bit. So from here, legs in that nice straddle position. We'll start with some side bends. Okay, so we can reach over. So I like to, before I get into my press work, if I'm doing like a press session, I like to get my chest to floor in the pancake comfortably first before I start the session. Okay, and that way I can get that nice compression of the hips when performing the press. Here, try and keep both butt cheeks down, legs nice and straight. As it's a warm-up, guys, just kind of move through these positions. If it's something that, again, pancake you're struggling with, then, you know, go through the follow-on. This is not going to be a in-depth pancake tutorial, but there is that one, I think it might be day 8. But yeah, if you go back through the follow-along series, you'll you'll find it. Let me just move that camera down a little bit. I feel like you can't see me. Okay, so yeah, working into that pancake a little bit more. First thing in the morning for me, so I'm a little bit stiff. Remember, we're trying to hinge from the hips. Okay, that'll do. I'll probably spend a bit more time there if it wasn't on a video, but yeah. From there, guys, we'll go for standing shoulder flexion. So now I'll have to move the camera back up again. Okay, so all we're going to do is prop ourselves against the wall, and I might show you this from two angles. So essentially, this is our press action in the shoulders, right? So we're going to bring our feet slightly further forwards from the wall, posterior pelvic tilt. Okay, draw the ribs down towards the pelvis, so in that nice hollow position, head comes flat to the wall. We're simply going to lift the arms up overhead, try and get our thumbs to the wall, and control back down, keeping that back completely flat. So from here to here, this is our press action. Okay, to be honest, I'm not as stiff as I thought I'd be today, but let's do about 10 reps. So as we perform the press, we're going into, well, from slightly, well, shoulder flexion, but at a slight angle, and then we're pushing into more flexion. We're pushing into a more overhead position. Okay, so we're driving into more shoulder flexion in order to stack our hips above the shoulders and get that nice straight line from hands to hips. Okay, then maybe spend a little time at the top trying to really straighten the arms, keep the arms quite close together, keep the back flat to the wall. And relax. Okay, so good one there, obviously, for your handstand, but also that press, because it's that straight arm press overhead, and we're just starting to familiarise ourselves with that position, ensure we can stay hollow as we do it, because if as we press we then extend and lose that anterior core tension, we're probably going to lose the press and lose the balance as well. Okay, so it's can we stiffen as we press into more flexion overhead. Okay, finally, we're just going to do some plank work. So just a few different positions in the plank, get our wrists warm, get our shoulders warm, get our positions set up. So we'll start in just a high plank position, first finger facing forwards, just like in our handstand. From there we'll just rock backwards and forwards. And then we'll go side to side. Maybe we could throw in a few shoulder taps, keeping that core nice and stiff, minimal movement through the hips. And then we can send it into a down dog position, allowing that anterior tilt to occur. Again, this is that idea of stacking the hips. We could rock it forwards a little bit into this kind of box position, or this pike position, and just rock backwards and forwards through here. So again, this is that press action. From here, pressing overhead, pressing overhead, pressing overhead. Okay, a few little shrugs as well. The shoulders up and down. When we press, we want to have the shoulders shrugged up, scapular elevation. And shake it off. Okay, so a little bit of prep work done. I'd probably spend a bit longer if I were you on these variations. If you're on your own, maybe pause it and go through another round or so, just to really get yourself limbered up and firing for the press. It is a very hard move. It takes a lot of preparation for our body. You know, we need to be able to get into good positions in order to perform it efficiently. Yeah, and that'll become very evident as you go through this. So level 1 is going to be our tiptoe press, which we might take into press walks, or we will take into press walks. And if you can perform that, then I suggest you do that. And then we're going to pair that with some seated leg lifts, the old favourites that we've done before. Okay, so we'll start with that tiptoe press. So I will teach people to press with the feet together, the start position, okay? But for now, and I don't mind if people start here, I'll let the legs go slightly apart into about shoulder width. position. From here, we're just going to allow ourselves to roll down. We're going to try and bring the hands and feet quite close together, about 6 to 8 inches between each other. First finger forwards, push your shoulders to the ears, and then we're simply going to try and press up onto the tiptoes and control down. Okay, the intention here, guys, is to try and push the shoulders overhead. Okay, so we're pushing the floor this way, and we're trying to get the hips as high as possible. So like someone's got the hands, and they're pulling our hips up above our shoulders. Okay, they're the contractions that we're trying to make. One more time. Okay, so if as you're doing that, the feet feel relatively weightless, okay, you're able to sort of pick it up and it feels like the toes aren't really on the floor, we can then take it into what's called our press walks, okay? So from here, we're in this tiptoe press position, the exact same movement. What we're actually going to try and do is pull the feet off the floor and bring them into the either side of the hands, okay? Let's just move you down. Oh no, you can see me. Okay, you can at least see my right leg anyway. So same position. Might want to go slightly further forwards with the hands here. Okay, only slightly, only an inch or two. First finger forwards, we push up into that tiptoe press position. Hips lengthen, push the shoulders, elevate and push them this way into the floor. And then we lift and bring them to the hands. Okay, let's go again. Tiptoe press, trying to get them hips as high as possible. Lift, bring them to the hands. Okay, if you're quite strong with your bent arm strength, you've maybe done a lot of bench press, a lot of push-ups or handstand push-ups, you might feel the urge to want to bend your arms. I certainly have that urge as well, because that's kind of my foundation where I came into this sort of training from. Straighten the arms, keep them nice and straight as much as you can. For some of you, that might mean going a little bit closer grip, okay, slightly inside of shoulder width, and that can sometimes help to keep the arms straight. Okay, so that's your press walk. What I'm going to briefly do is just show you how to go backwards as well, but backwards would be the hardest of this level 1. Okay, so this is level 1, tiptoe press, press walk forward, press walk backwards would be top end of level 1. Backwards is hard, so don't worry if you're not quite there yet. So the way we do backwards is we place our hands, so same setup, okay, but our hands are actually going to go where they finished, where the feet finished or where the hands finished in the last variation. So in line with the feet, we're then going to try and set up in that position. Sorry, I'm going to rub on the mic here. And then lift and lower back. Okay, so I'll just show you one more time. Arms straight, push into the floor. Lift and lower back. Okay, that's your reverse press walk. So that's level 1, guys. It's just doing about 3 reps of whichever variation that you're on, really getting them cues of pushing overhead, elevating, and getting them hips to pull above the shoulders. Okay, so legs come into the body, we try and pull the hips above the shoulders as much as we can. Second variation is going to be our seated leg lifts. So second part of level 1. We know these well, guys, I won't spend too long on them, but these are crucial, okay? A press to handstand is, like many Cali skills, gymnastic skills, whatever, is about balance, okay? Essentially, what is balance? What we're trying to do is get our centre of mass, which is around about where our belly button is for most of us, okay? Get our centre of mass to come over our base of support. Now, our base support is probably very small here on our hands. It's probably only kind of between maybe our second knuckle, like the middle of the finger, and maybe the start of the thumb. That's maybe where our centre of mass, where our base of support is. Okay, so we have to be able to keep our centre of mass within that base of support. If it goes too far this way, we fall back, we can't press up. If it goes too far this way, we fall over, we lose balance, we fall over this way. Okay, so it's about keeping that there. So when we first start that press, the ability to get that there without leaning forwards crazy in the shoulders is really down to getting the hips as high as possible and pulling the legs in towards the body, so compressing the body. Okay, that allows us to make that weight nice and small, keep that centre of mass over the base support as we lean forward slightly, and it allows us to actually start the movement, start the lift, and begin the press to handstand. Once it gets into handstand, it's a bit more simple. Obviously, once we get to straddle, the centre of mass remains in our hips. That just needs to remain over our base support. But that initial part of the movement, getting the centre of mass to come over the base support between the small parts of the hands there, that's the hard bit, okay? And this is where this compression strength is so essential, to be able to really pull them legs in towards the torso to get ourselves into that start position where we can actually lift, okay? So from here, guys, progress it, okay? Don't just satisfy with being here, try and go further and further and further and further forwards, okay? A little bit of flexion in the spine is okay, you will have that in your press. So from here, try and stay relatively upright, but again, a little bit of flexion is fine. Lift, lower, lift, lower. Okay, and as we say, try and progress it further and further until eventually I like to try and get people to be able to do it in line with the feet. Okay, do it in straight, do it in straddle. I might as well do a few whilst we're here. Okay, hands go to here. And relax. Brutal. Okay, that's level 1. Level 2 is going to be jump into straddle handstand and then a negative press. If you can't jump into handstand and straddle, I'd work on it. It's a good move. It teaches the pattern of the press, but it's not a problem for now. You could just still work on the negative. Okay, I'll show you the first few against the wall, and then I might do one away from the wall. Okay, so at level 2, jump to negative press, and we're pairing that with our toes to bar, okay, or our hanging leg lifts. So, straddle jump, we're going to set ourselves up in that start position. So again, I like to try and get people to sort of start with the feet together. It's just sort of preference when it comes to making it look nice, really. That's all. Let me move you up a little bit as well. Okay, from here, feet start together. Again, if they're slightly apart, it's fine. Okay, hands come down, first finger forwards. We're gonna add a little bend in the knees, jump. A little bend in the knees, jump. Heels touch the wall first. Okay, you don't necessarily need to rest on the wall. If you can kind of balance off it, that's cool. From there, we come into straddle. We try and really keep them shoulders open, stacking the hips above the shoulders. Caught on the curtain here. And then we try and control down without touching the curtain, as slow as possible. And release. Okay, I have to shift myself this way a little bit. But yeah, I'll do one more there for you guys. Let me move the camera to the side so you can really get a sense of what's going on. So really, guys, here we're looking at what are my legs doing? Well, I can't just say that really, can I? What are my hips doing? What are my legs doing? What are my shoulders doing? Okay, shoulders are staying open for as long as possible. The hips are staying over the shoulders for as long as possible. And the legs are pulling down in towards the body as much as possible. The further legs go out, this is why pike's harder, legs apart. The further legs go out, the more it's going to want to shift our centre of mass this way. Okay, if we keep them in nice straddle, keep them as close to the body as we can throughout the movement, it'll keep that centre of mass over our base of support. Shoulders stay open, so again, them hips stay over the shoulders. Again, that's going to keep our centre of mass over our base of support. Okay, so it's stacking them hips, keeping them on top of the shoulders for as long as possible. Okay, so in that angle you should be able to see the important bits. Yeah. So open the shoulders. Oh dear, that's not good. Should have thought about this. Straddle. Open them hips. Slow as we can on the way down. Keep the arms straight. Open the shoulders. And controlling that bottom position. Not the painting there. Okay, I'll move that later. Right, so let's now get into leg lifts. In fact, let me show you one freestanding. So, I don't think there's anything I can knock over here. You kind of forget how wide your legs can come, I think, sometimes when you do these. So, obviously, if we can do a freestanding handstand, then we can just drill it this way, and it's a really good drill. But again, no issues using the wall as well. That's also fine. If you're quite inconsistent with your handstands, might be better to do it against the wall to start with, so you can build that consistency. So from here, guys, Same movement. Jump into handstand. Keep the shoulders open, hips stacked, open as much as we can, and then control down. Notice that I'm trying to pull legs in as close to the body as I can, keep the hips above the shoulders for as long as I can. Whew. Okay. Now let's go into the leg lifts. Okay, so ideally toes to bar. If you can't do toes to bar, guys, I'll give you a few progressions, but I'd suggest it's definitely something worth working on. From here, obviously, ideally something you can fully hang from, but you know, any offering pull-up bar is good. Definitely a worthy investment. From here, guys, ideally toes to bar, legs stay straight, toes come to the bar, control down. Come to the bar, control down. Okay. The idea with it, we're trying to stay stacked. Trying to, again, although it's upside down, we're trying to keep the shoulders and the hips pretty aligned. Okay. So it's not about using the lats. We're actually trying to stay nice and upright. So stay a little bit active in the shoulders, but we want to try and stay as upright as we can when we do our leg lifts. So instead of sort of hiking the hips all the way up, we're trying to keep the hips as low as possible so we really develop that hip flexion, okay, that nice hip compression strength. If it's too challenging, you can do it with the knees bent. So you can go knees bent, extend, lower down. Knees bent, extend, lower down. Okay, or you can just do regular leg lifts to a certain height and just develop that range of motion further and further. Okay, there probably is going to need to be a little bit of spinal flexion, so the hips will have to come forward slightly, but try as best you can to keep them as stacked beneath the shoulders as you can. Okay, so again, that strength's coming from the hip flexors to pull the legs in towards the torso, as opposed to just hiking the whole body up. Okay, that's level 2. This now brings us to level 3. Okay, so level 3, I'm just going to show you. So at this point now, you've gone through these drills. You feel strong enough, you can really control that negative. You can get that initial lift on the press walk. So at this point, you might be starting to it might just start to happen. Okay, which is obviously a really cool feeling. But what I like to do with people at this point, sometimes before as well, to be honest, I'll give this to, once I introduce press, I'll start to show them this drill. This is the press awareness drill. So we're doing it in a supine position, we're lying on our back. So essentially, hopefully you can see all of this. I get the feeling not. I'm going to move the camera down a bit more. Because yeah, this is a really cool drill, guys, to just understand the kinematics of a press, so that the motion of it. Okay, the forces aren't the same because we're lying on our back, we're not upside down in a handstand, but in terms of the joint angles, it's very, very similar. Okay, so from here, let's start in the end of the press. So once the legs come to the hands, this is like the start of the press. This is like when we're doing that tiptoe press off the floor. From there, legs stay straight. We try and bring the hips down towards the floor, stacking the hips above the shoulders. As this is occurring, we bring the legs into straddle. Okay, and as we bring them into straddle, you'll notice that the back's now gone flat to the floor. Legs are going to come all the way around. I'm going to have to bend my legs so I don't touch the thingy, the door. And then at this point, we're in our handstand. Okay, back's completely flat, we're in our handstand. We're then going to straddle the legs once more. Okay, bring them as wide as possible, so we're getting that maximal compression and pulling them in towards the body as much as we can. Once we can't get them in any further, we can't get them any higher towards the body, we can't get them any lower to the floor, we're then going to try and articulate the spine one vertebrae at a time, start to bring legs together until we finish back in the start of that press. Okay, one more time, we begin by trying to stack the hips, rolling the spine down so the hips are coming towards the floor. We then go into straddle, bring legs as low to the floor as possible so we're nice and compressed. Into handstand. Okay, so at this point I'm in handstand. Now I'm into straddle handstand. Now I'm starting to lower down, keeping the hips above the shoulders. And then at this point, I'm now lowering down into my press position. Okay, but the emphasis there, guys, is legs stay as close to the floor as possible, hips stay on the floor as long as possible, or as close to the floor as possible. Okay, and again, that's keeping us nice and compact. The more open we are, the more spread we are. If we go into a planche, for example, and we try and do a planche press, loads of force required from the shoulders. to press ourselves up. If we stay nice and compact, much less force required, okay, and it's a lot easier to maintain our balance, okay, because it's a much more compact, short movement as opposed to a movement where really having a big shift in body position, okay. Whew, awesome. That's the awareness drill. I'll now go over the press itself. Okay, so this drill I use as a primer, okay, to get people feeling the position, understanding the position, the joint angles that they're going to be performing a press, understanding that efficiency, okay, making the movement nice and smooth, getting it nice and compact, and then the press obviously is then as putting it all into action, okay. So let's go into the press now. So from here, let's start again if we can, feet together, but don't worry if your feet slightly apart, okay, it makes it a little bit easier I think, but you don't want to go too wide, because the wider you go, the lower your hips go, okay, the lower your hips are, the harder it then is to stack the hips above the shoulders, and you end up having to planche the first part of the press, okay, so keep the legs nice and close together, again just for sort of like clean form, etc. I like to keep the feet together. From here, first thing that goes forwards, we begin with a tiptoe press. Okay, from there we again try and stack the hips as soon as possible, straddle the legs, come up into our handstand, and then just perform that negative straddle press. So here, tiptoes. Control the negative. Minimal lean forwards, we're trying to stack the hips and lower down, okay. So when we are going to have a little bit of lean forwards in that bottom position, okay, in order to get that centre of mass over our base support, but try and make it so the shoulders don't pass the fingers, okay. Hard for me to do because I'm not that mobile in my hips, decent, but could be more. So try as best you can to not let the shoulders come over the fingers, okay, because then it ends up being more of a planche sort of press. Okay, we're trying to keep it nice and compact, but you are going to have that little bit of motion there. So let's just move the camera up a little bit and do it again, so you can see a bit more what's happening in my hips. You're getting your money's worth today, guys, aren't you? Okay. I'll do it on a slight angle this time. You should still be able to see what's happening at the hips. So again, it's that isometric contraction through the shoulders initially to get the lift, and then we're pushing the floor away. Okay, so it's elevation and then pushing into more flexion through the shoulders. Okay, shoulders to ears and then pushing the floor this way. Okay, that's what gets that motion through the shoulders. Hit the wall, yeah. Notice that nice compression, okay? Notice also, inhale, okay? When we contract, if we're gonna do a heavy squat, a heavy deadlift, it's not quite the same brace because we're not really loading our spine in the same way, but still, inhale, then we contract. Okay, that helps us produce more force. Inhale, brace, that helps us produce that more force, okay? I don't think doing an exhale, I don't think I'd be able to do it very well if I did an exhale, because that's usually, again, that release in tension. So yeah, inhale, tension, and then we go. So that's it. That's the press. Hopefully you got a bit of an understanding there of what it looks like and what's going on. Hopefully then progressions kind of gave the narrative. This level 3, the awareness drill, this might be a good one to start putting in earlier in your press training. I just put it here because it's sort of fit, but you know, feel free to do it earlier. Really good drill for understanding the mechanics of the press, understanding the kinematics of the press, the joint angles, etc. So yeah, I'm just going to show you 2 little bonuses before I leave you, because I just feel like I should. So they are straddle L sit and straight arm Z press. So straddle L sit, essentially I just think it's something good to work on. Now if you want to continue your press training into things like stalder press, which is where you go from the straddle L up into handstand, useful drill, Also just generally for sort of press strength and that hip abduction and flexion. I think the straddle L-sit's a really good move. As I mentioned, this, coming into the press variations, I do think you should already have pancake, tuck planche, L-sit and handstand. But to progress that L-sit, working on the straddle L-sit might be useful. You can start doing it on a chair, hands on a chair. You can do it on parallettes to start with, so your legs don't have to lift quite as high. But eventually, try and get to the point where you can do it on the floor, legs straight, torso upright. Okay, and you can start to do little presses off the floor there. And again, once you get your press down, you can lower into that position, and eventually you can press out of that position into stalder. Cool move, a lot of people like that one. And then the straight arm Z press. So, holding an object, so I'd probably use a plate. Z position, so legs straight, torso upright. Okay, from here, press, control down, keep the arms straight, press, control down, press, control down. Okay, so completely straight arms, and just building that strength in that initial part of the shoulder flexion, of that push overhead. Okay, and with this one, you'd want to go quite heavy. You'd want to work on sort of 5 reps or less for maybe sort of 5 sets to build that strength in the shoulders to get that initial press overhead. So if you feel like that's your issue, you're struggling with things like tuck planche, this might be a good variation to throw in there to improve that strength. Okay, and other than that, guys, it just comes down to, like I say, having that pancake range of motion, having the ability to actually actively control that range of motion, to be able to lift our leg into that position, and then be able to put the coordination together, the ability to compress our legs, the ability to articulate that spine, stack the hips as early as possible, obviously the balance in the handstand, and the strength to press out of that bottom position in the shoulders. It's piecing all that together and performing the movement. So hopefully this video helps give you a little bit more clarity on the press and how you can maybe work towards it. Any feedback is always welcome, or any of your progress videos or pictures or whatever, always welcome. Thank you very much today for joining. Really enjoyed doing this one, so hopefully you enjoyed watching it and trying it as well. So one quick thing to mention, guys, I'd just like to give a big shout out to Vivo Life. So these guys are sorting us out with protein at the moment. Absolutely awesome company. So the packaging is actually carbon neutral. The bottle here, the majority of it is actually made out of metal. So at the moment, if you're watching this video like November, what day is it today? Like 27th, 28th, Black Friday. Over the course of the weekend, it's going to be what they call Green Friday. Okay, so essentially you're going to get 15% off all the products. You're going to get 10 trees planted for every product that you buy. And also you're going to get 10% of the money that you spend on the products is going to go to some charities as well, working on sustainability and working with refugees. So yeah, really cool company, guys. I certainly myself feel a lot of alignment to them. The fact that they're carbon neutral, the fact that obviously it's plant-based protein, the fact that just they've got metal shakers and stuff like that. I just think it's really cool. Really nice people. I can definitely vouch for the guys who work there. Really awesome people. So yeah, if you're looking to get some supplements, I wasn't really a fan of supplements quite a long time, but this goes down really well with me. The ingredients are pretty good as well, or very good in fact. You can have a look on the website and look at what they're all about, and they'll give a much better description than I will. But yeah, as I said, guys, it's 15% off all the products, and 10 trees gets planted, and also 10% goes to charities mentioned. So yeah, really cool opportunity, guys, to get started with this stuff. If you are looking for something like that, then yeah, check them out. And the final thing for the Green Friday is they're actually going out and doing like walk, run, cycle, and picking up 10 pieces of litter, and then putting that in a bag and obviously taking that home. And I think that's a really cool idea for Black Friday, changing to Green Friday as well. Probably a nice thing to do. I imagine something you'll do, and afterwards you'll feel very good. So yeah, I'm certainly going to get out today and do that. So if you guys want to jump on that as well, if you do it and you want to post it on social, okay, just hashtag Green Friday, tag at Vivo Life, maybe tag at Plant Calisthenics as well if you like, and that'll be really cool, guys, if you do that. I think a nice finish to your training, maybe go for a little stroll afterwards, or before, like a wind down before bed, and just pick up a load of litter, stick it in a bag, and yeah, jobs are good. Awesome, guys. See you soon.